today on Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. The technicians at Coastal Marine rigged Corey's 23-foot Seacraft with brand new Suzuki outboards.
We can't wait to get it back after we get the motors on it, see how this boat runs.
At Two Rivers, the Deep Impact is put to the test at full throttle.
Exciting. Adrenaline pumping. It's really good.
George Labonte joins Dave Rogers aboard his 1974 17-foot Mako, custom built for cruising with his first mate Hooch.
The relationship between Dave and Hooch, the damn dog, was really touching for me, and I really enjoyed a day on the boat with these two.
And back at TRB, the 25-foot Contender project receives a touch of bling from Taco Marine.
I'm very impressed, and I think this boat's going to be an amazing boat once it's done.
All coming up on Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. Join us as we follow one-off builds to all-out restorations in Stuart, Florida's Dreamboat District, home to some of the best custom boat builders in the world. From modest to over-the-top, industry experts from the district's premier facilities show how it's done. Fiberglass repair, custom paintwork, engine rigging, electronics installations, and more. And boating editor George Labonte shares the stories of boaters who have already turned their dreams into reality. This is Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat.
Now that we finished up the wiring on Corey's 23 Seacraft, we're getting ready to send the boat over to Dave at Coastal Marine. They're in the district right here, they're only a street away. And Jarrett's on his way over to pick the boat up, and we can't wait to get it back after we get the motors on it, see how this boat runs.
Hey guys, Jarrett Helms here, rigger over at Coastal Marine in Stuart. We've been working with Mike over at Wildfire on the Seacraft project. He gave us a call, told us it was ready to be picked up, so luckily he's right around the corner. We ran over there and picked it up from him and got it back over here to get started on doing the rigging. So essentially, once we got the boat, the harness had already been ran. Dave has been working with Mike and Corey on the layout of the dash, so I knew where everything was going. So all I had to do is make my measurements and drill my holes. The way Debbie lays out the wiring in the boat, it really makes things easy for us in rigging the dash. She left us plenty of room for mounting the control modules and key switches and everything else. So once the console's rigged, the engines are ready to go on the back of the boat. Dave came out, he helped me hang the engines. It's kind of a two-man job with the forklift. I normally have a hoist system that I use, but with the height of the transom, it was going to require the forklift to do. Engine height is very important. You know, you don't want the engines too low where you're creating a big spray coming off of them, and you don't want them too high where you get a lot of cavitation.
Magical broomstick is telling us that it may be a little low right there.
I think we need to come up.
A little low? Too low. When we do that with the straight edge or the calibrated broomstick, we'll try to sort of split the water intakes off the bottom of the boat. As the water is exiting the bottom of the boat, it's rising. So that's kind of the main reason why the engine has to be up higher. Come and touch the engine with it. That should be pretty good with that gear case. That's usually good for being super close, maybe having to come up or down a hole. Those actually like to be a little bit lower, to bite a little bit better. They've got a lot of torque for a 4-stroke. They're a really good running engine.
On the mounting hardware, I like to use 4000 to seal up to keep any leaks through transoms. The Seacraft had a bracket on it, so we only needed to use 4000 on the lower bolts to keep water from leaking inside the bracket. So when I drill the holes in the transom, it's essentially the same as how I drill the holes in the dash. You're just dealing with a little bit thicker material. After drilling my holes, I do like to wipe all the coring material with 3M 4000 sealant, and then seal the rigging flanges to the transom so you have no water leaking through the rigging flanges.
When we engineer out how a rigging tube is going to lay on the bracket or coming out of the boat, you are drastically reducing the chances of having problems. You break a wiring harness because it wasn't rigged properly, you're dead in the water and you're hopefully your VHF radio will reach sea tow. So we have always prided ourselves in doing the best possible job for the customer.
I was excited to see how the boat was going to run, with it originally being a single IO boat with a cuddy cabin, and the total transformation to being a center console twin engine outboard boat.
That boat was way ahead of its time and still is one of the best riding 23-foot boats on the market. And now you put the Armstrong bracket with the flotation, the heavy wide body bracket with a pair of efficient 150 Suzukis on it, and it really turned out to be a neat project.
When we come back, the Deep Impact Overhaul hits the water with plans of achieving eye-watering speeds. This segment brought to you by Two Rivers Boat Works. Exceptional design, quality, and craftsmanship.
Dreaming of transforming your boat into the envy of the fleet? The experts at Two Rivers Boat Works are dedicated to customizing your boat to your specific needs and personality. Specializing in fiberglass and composites repair, professional painting, systems installation, and more. Founded by boating enthusiasts, we understand the enjoyment of being on the water, offering exceptional design, craftsmanship, and quality, so you can spend more time on the water than dreaming about it. Visit our facility in Stuart, Florida, and turn your boating dreams into reality.
Hey, welcome back to Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. Join us as the TRB team heads out with the owner of the Deep Impact for the final shakedown and delivery.
So we've finally come to the end of the Deep Impact project. The owner of the boat and his captain and his family are coming down to do a final inspection and sea trial. And the owner of the boat is actually wanting to take the boat immediately after the sea trial back down to his home base in Boca Raton. So literally failure is not an option at the end of this project. I've handed it over to my guys. It's really up to them to make sure that they don't mess this up and we get this done perfectly first time.
So we've got Bobby coming along with us. He started at TRB a little while ago. He's got a super knowledgeable background when it comes to the racing stuff. Being that this boat's got quad 400 racing motors on it, we needed to make sure that Bobby was with us to get the max performance out of this boat and to see what she can really do.
I'm Bobby Adams. I come from a background of performance offshore boat racing. I worked with some of the greatest teams out there in the world, world-renowned Miss Geico, world-renowned Spirit of Qatar. Once you obviously get into that lifestyle, you're kind of hooked into it, and speed's like the #1 thing you want. You want to be the fastest boat out in your class. You want to be the first one out front. You want to be the first one to finish. It's just a speed factor. It's stuff that I enjoy, and you can't take that away from me.
So from the owner, Tim, I could tell that he was just ready to get on this boat and go fast. When he saw the boat, he was more than blown away and super happy to get his boat back.
Welcome aboard.
Woo! 2 years, beauty.
2 years.
Beautiful.
2 years.
Absolutely amazing.
So my role the day that we took the Deep Impact out was to go out with the owner and the captain and kind of go over with the owner what we've done, all the changes we've made to the boat, and run the boat to get it as efficient as possible to run the maximum amount it would let it.
Because Bobby's going to be on this side with you, and he's going to be doing a lot of the tuning. So he's going to be, trying to reach above that 80-mile-an-hour mark. It's literally right over there. It's maybe a 3 or 4 minute boat ride, and we have a huge straightaway. As soon as actually we get out that red marker right over there, we go fast.
I knew he's been waiting to get on his boat for a long time. Now that it's finally ready, he's got ants in his pants, and I could just see he's one to go.
What's going on, man?
Back out. It sounded like they were starving for fuel. So the first thing we did was check the fuel valves, and the fuel got shut off. So when it was sitting there idling at the dock, it was fine. We pull out, we go to go run it, and then all of a sudden we run out of fuel on 2 motors. That's always your first sign when they drop out the way that they did. That's the way you would go about it. I always tell people it's either going to break 100% when I'm on it, or it's going to run 100%. It's a 50-50 shot every time you go to the water.
Let her eat.
From there.
Go to your right just a little bit.
Yep, I am. I just want to watch out for this little sucker over here. Oh, baby.
All right, come on. We're going to hit 80.
So watching the boat go by was really impressive. You could see the rooster tail kick in. The guys were really moving. You could hear the motor screaming. It was really exciting to see this boat in action.
Ah, exciting. Adrenaline pumping. It was really good.
I was hoping to see 86 out of the boat. We got pretty close. But I mean, still it's a 39-foot boat with 1,600 horsepower doing 80 miles an hour, and anyone can do it. And that's a big thing. You know, being able to add jack blades and stuff like that and make the boat perform the way it should, and you don't look back and say, man, I wish that boat was a little bit faster. Sometimes you say, you know, I can't believe that boat's that fast.
It was amazing how much it picked up. Just took off like a rocket ship, and a lot of good, strong brass to it. It was really, really nice.
The sea trial was a success on the deep impact. The owner was happy. They ran the boat. They got about 86 miles an hour out of it. Pretty fast as far as we understand. It may be the fastest deep impact out there at the moment. But man, was I really happy to see the back of it.
When we return, George Labonte joins Dreamboat owner Dave Rogers aboard his 1974 17-foot Mako. In this week's One Man's Dreamboat segment. This segment brought to you by Taco Marine, innovative quality products with extraordinary service.
Safety is paramount when boating. That's why Taco developed the Grand Slam 800 VHF antenna mount. Easily raise and lower your boat's antenna by simply unlocking the crank handle from the base and turning. It's quick, easy, and best of all, safe. No more climbing on gunnels, seats, or tops just to adjust your antenna. Find out more about the Grand Slam 800 VHF antenna mount at tacomarine.com.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. Join us for this week's One Man's Dreamboat segment with Florida Sportsman boating editor George Labonte as we feature anglers who have already launched their dream. Florida Sportsman began these features 30 years ago, and the dreams just keep getting better.
On last week's show, we had a look at a beautifully restored 17-foot Mako. And as we said, that boat was restored for a number of reasons. And one of the reasons why we see a lot of 17 Makos is because they're really easy to get your hands on and not overwhelming. And this week, we're going to have a look at a second 17 Mako built by a guy, but the story goes a little bit deeper than what we're normally used to looking at. Today, we go to Fort Pierce, Florida, and meet up with Dave Rogers and his dog, Hooch.
5 years ago, I found myself single, and a friend had mentioned fostering a dog, something I had done years ago. I thought, what the heck? So I went down to the Humane Society. My friend had already told me about this dog named Hooch. Outran this pit bull, and we said hi to each other. So I brought him home. Within a few days of me fostering him, I took him to a park, and he pulled me down the bank and jumped in the water, and I thought, oh my God, the dog really likes the water. I took him to the beach, and he would run down the beach and the shore break in and out. But he'd get really winded, and he'd pass out a couple of times. And so I had to come up with a solution. The dog loved the beach, he loved the water. But I couldn't turn him loose on the beach, and he wasn't having fun, and I wasn't having fun with him on a leash at the beach. So I came across a canoe and a 2.5 Evinrude, and Hooch and I set out to the Spoil Islands by the Stewart's Sandbar. He loved it. He could run around the little islands. He didn't run too hard to get winded. The islands simply aren't big enough. It didn't take long before we needed something a little bigger, and that led to a 13 whaler. And then decided we wanted something a little different, and that's when we went on the hunt for the Mako.
Now, although Dave really wanted a boat to get him right on the water, before he even dove into this project, he knew it was going to be an elaborate build.
So going into the boat and bringing it back from Vero, my expectations were to rebuild the boat completely from the keel up. new stringers, as opposed to the original foam filled hull that supported the deck. The boat now has a raised deck that sits on stringers and bulkheads that support it. The cap of the boat, the bow portion of the cap came off. That was flipped over and re-cored. Then the top side anchor locker cut into that for access from the top. We pulled the transom out, raised that. Of course, to do that, the back fish boxes, storage boxes in the back all had to be cut out and removed. I decided to cut out that liner along the gunnels, underneath the gunnels on the sides. It made it just feel a lot more roomy in there. Found a great console from the guys at Birdsall down in West Palm. I purchased a round fiberglass live well. I wanted a portable live well. I don't always need a live well, but I didn't want hoses and things that weren't clean. So I routed it all through the console. It could come out and look real clean. It looks clean when it's in the boat.
Nowhere was Dave's newfound craftsmanship more evident than his one-off leaning post.
So I decided to make one, and I took some insulation board. I mocked up a leaning post. When I finally got to a shape and a size that I liked, I cut it out of Divinicel. It took, I probably spent 2 months building the leaning post. Once I got it to how I liked it, I shot it, primed it, and then shot it with gel coat.
Dave's perfectionist attitude really cost him a lot of extra time spent when it came down to getting this project wrapped up, but the quality really showed through in the finished product.
They say double your budget, double your time. Well, I didn't set a budget, but it did take right at 2 years before it was done. The Mako is the Damn Dog 17, and I like to jokingly blame Hooch for getting me into this boat fixing restoration illness, some of us call it. You know, I blame him kind of like I blamed our family dog when I was in 6th grade for eating my homework, you know, that damn dog. I mean, Hooch and I, you know, we'll go for a cruise, he loves it, and then it's come to these spoil islands where, you know, I can barely hit the bank before he'll jive off and run the shore, chasing bait fish. He just really loves it. So he's my boat buddy, and we enjoy it.
Now, one thing's for sure, these projects just keep getting better and better. I mean, and this was absolutely the nicest 17 Mako I've ever seen personally. This just goes to show you that there's a lot more to boating and fishing than catching the big one all the time. I mean, this was a really special story to me, and the relationship between Dave and Hooch, the Damn Dog, was really touching for me, and I really enjoyed a day on the boat with these two.
After an initial investment of $500 and spending $12,000 on repairs and custom modifications, the cost of Dave's Dreamboat comes to a total of $12,500. When we return, the 25-foot contender project at Two Rivers Boatworks receives a touch of rub rail bling. This segment brought to you by Suzuki Marine, the ultimate outboard motor.
Go to SuzukiMarine.com to find a dealer near you.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. Join the crew at TRB as they install a custom stainless rub rail insert on the 25-foot contender project.
So we recently got the 25 contender back from Birdsall. They did a fantastic job on the T-top. The new frame looks amazing, it's nice and clean. I like the lines of it. I'm really very impressed with the work that Bobby and his crew did down there. So we've got the rub rail, the plastic part of the rub rail on the boat, and it looks great. And now comes a complicated part of putting the stainless steel insert in from Taco Marine. So there's a lot of complicated bends towards the stern of the boat, some 90-degree bends, and that where the rub rail actually has to be cut and welded. We've decided to call in some experts who do some great work. and let them come in, cut and weld the rub rail and get it done.
The process of installing the stainless steel insert is begun at the transom by making the first 90-degree bend. It's crucial to make sure that hole openings will not be at the center of the bend, as this will cause the metal to buckle. Also, hole openings must not overlay the screws that hold the current rubber backing into place. Once positioned, stainless screws are used to secure the section into place. To bend and mold the metal rail around this sharp transom corner, one person must gently pull the rail around the curve, while the other uses a blunt hammer to create its new shape. Done properly, this bend will be smooth and seamless. Next, the first hard shear line change is encountered. Here, the rail is marked and cut perfectly to match the angle. The next section must also be cut to match this angle, keeping in mind to space screw holes accordingly. To properly plan for where each stainless section will meet, the bow portion is now mocked up. The rail is evenly positioned, keeping in mind hole openings should be clear of the bend and not overlap existing screws. Once again, the rail is secured and carefully shaped around the curvature of the hull. Once complete, it's on to the midsection, mounted along a subtle shear line change. Slightly tweaking the rail as it's secured is enough for proper fitment. Now it's on to welding the stainless cut earlier. For support and protection of the boat, the metal is pulled back and a thin piece of wood is placed behind it. The welder then carefully bonds the two pieces of metal together. The last section must now be cut to the shear line angle and length needed to complete the insert, then precisely welded at the joint. Now unified as one solid piece, this section must be removed in order to properly blend the sections of stainless. First, an abrasive sanding wheel is used to clean and flatten the weld. Then, a finer grain sandpaper disc is used to further perfect the joint, making it appear seamless. Once satisfied, a polishing compound and buffing wheel are used to bring back its original luster and shine. Finally, this completed section is secured back to the boat, and the process is repeated on the other side.
Keith Tannis and the guys from Coastal Metalworks Inc. did a fantastic job on the rub rail insert. It really has pulled the whole boat together. I'm very impressed, and I think this boat's going to be an amazing boat once it's done.
Next week on Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. L&H Boats begins production on hull number 1 of their brand new 43. George Labonte joins John McCormick aboard his 1972 24-foot Proline. The experts at TRB tackle installing a very custom one-off dash panel in the 25-foot Contender project. And we meet with Corey Fountain, owner of the classic 23-foot Seacraft transformed at Wildfire Marine, for a day on the water in Savannah, Georgia.